Alright guys, hope you're all having a good day today. Blast Bounty Season 2 kicked off with 4 matches and it was chaos right from the start. Liquid barely scraped past ECSTATIC in a 5 overtime banger. G2 made life way harder for themselves against Amiga. Foot's new lineup fell short in their debut against BATE, and FaZe handled business with a clean 2-0 over BetBoom. We're breaking down all 4 games, the key clutches, top performers and where these teams go next. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe, I'd really appreciate it. Let's get straight into it. Okay, kicking things off, we had Foot versus BATE. Foot came into this one as the underdog, actually choosing BATE as the opponents in the draft as C22, and they kicked things off with Dust2 as their pick. It ended up being a close one, 16-12 to BATE, with a brilliant performance out of Alex especially, including this lovely 1v2 that we're looking at on CT. Foot having tied it up late, they just couldn't get anything going after that. Falling short, and then with Hetrick here, closing out the map with a really nice 3k with the op on B. And that was it. They closed that one out 16-12. Alex 666 and MPL just completely farmed in this map, both dropping 44 kills each respectively, which is pretty nuts for a regulation match with only 1 overtime. Foot didn't really have a standout performer here, and they seem to struggle in the fragging department across the board. Then we go on to Mirage, and it's the same story. Tight map, Foot looked like they were running away with it on CT side, putting up an impressive 7-3 lead, but BATE edge it out again, 13-11, and close the series 2-0. Hetrick stepped up on this one with 38 kills, and honestly the whole BATE squad just looked more experienced and stable. Take a look at the stats here. I mean, you can see Foot really struggled across the board. Not a single player hit a 1.0 rating. Meanwhile, BATE were pretty much farming, all doing a solid job, with MPL and Alex really showing up especially. So that's now Foot's first series with this new ex-Na'Vi Junior core under their banner, and while it wasn't the debut they were hoping for, they showed they can keep it close against a solid opposition. We'll see how they bounce back after this in their next showing, and I guess time will tell. Next up we had Liquid versus ECSTATIC, and this one turned into pure madness. A 5 overtime brawl on train that ended 28-26 in Liquid's favour. That's right, 28-26. But it was anything but clean. ECSTATIC looked sharp on their pick, constantly catching Liquid off guard with aggressive plays and solid clutches. Syria and Nut were the standouts. Nut really impressed me, not gonna lie. He had some big impact rounds when it really mattered. Liquid, on the other hand, were just all over the place. Twists clutched a wild 1v2 to tie at 11-11, and Ultimate dropped over 40 kills just to keep them alive. Him and Nath combined for nearly 100 kills, which kind of tells you everything about how scuffed this game really was. Nerds had a really bad game this map. They lost post plants, gave up a 5v3, ran into an A stack after faking B, and still somehow managed to win. And then we move on to Ancient, and it was a little less ridiculous but still far from clean again. Liquid carried momentum in early, 1 pistol and bonus, and Nerd started off strong after dropping a stinker on train. They went up 8-1 on T side, completely snowballing early, but of course ECSTATIC were not done. They clawed back on T side to bring it back to 9-8, and Analele hit a ridiculous double wallbang spam in round 16 that nearly flipped the map, but once again Syria was leading the way for ECSTATIC, already at 20 kills midway through, but this time Liquid hold it together. Nerds hit a clutch to secure match point, and that felt like the moment they could finally breathe. Liquid closed it out 13-9. But this series was way closer than the 2-0 scoreline looks, and they really need they need to figure it out, man. Liquid look absolutely horrendous. Alright, let's talk about G2 versus Amiga, which should have been a routine 2-0, but it turned into an absolute grind on Mirage. Before the match, Hunter gave a short interview talking about how the team's feeling lately, and you could tell there's still a bit of growing pain in this lineup. They've clearly got the firepower, but the roles and synergy still feel a little all over the place. Map 1 on Ancient was mostly clean. G2 won it 13-10. Not dominant, but they were in control most of the way. MATYS and Heavy God were both sharp, especially in early round fights. MATYS looked way more comfortable compared to Cologne, hitting some flicks, finding picks, and just not looking like a liability anymore. But Mirage was chaos. G2 started off strong, then let it completely slip, and we went all the way to double overtime, 22-20. And the frustrating part was they should have closed this one out way earlier. Players had a rough overtime and missed some huge shots that would have ended the map 3 or 4 rounds sooner. He actually looked really solid in regulation, was sitting at 24 kills by the end of it, but just kind of disappeared in the most important rounds. If it wasn't for MATYS going absolutely ballistic in OT, this probably would have gone to a third map. And honestly, Namiga had the momentum at that point too. Still, G2 scrape out the 2-0, not clean and not convincing, but it's a win. MATYS top fragging, Heavy God continuing to look like a beast. Lots to build on, but still work to be done. Then we had FaZe versus BetBoom, and this one was much more one-sided. FaZe took care of business and closed it out 2-0 without too much stress. Map 1 on Mirage, FaZe came out swinging. They won pistol, bonus, and even though BetBoom stole a 3v5 to get on the board early, FaZe just kept pushing forward. Rain and EliGE were on point, and Karrigan even dropped a clean ace to put them on match point, which we are looking at now. And not gonna lie, Karrigan must have had a good sleep before this match because he was shooting. BetBoom had a decent T-side rally to bring it back to 10-13, but they were playing from behind the entire time. FaZe just felt way more structured and they looked locked. Then on Ancient, it was more of the same. All FaZe, EliGE popped off again with 38 kills across the series, finishing Ancient with a massive 1.44 rating. Karrigan even kept his momentum going from Mirage and had a really clean 4K multi-kill round early to set the tone. Rain also showed up big with a 1.33 rating, and Brokey had a few nice anchoring moments too. BetBoom tried to make it competitive, but they were clearly outclassed, especially with Boomich finishing 18 and 35, having a pretty tough series, so not really much else to say there. FaZe closed it out 13-6 on Ancient, and they move on looking sharp. So that is 4 teams sent home with not a single bounty claimed yet. But before we wrap this up, let's take a look at tomorrow's games. So yeah, we will kick the day off with Virtus Pro versus MIBR, Na'Vi versus TNL, Spirit versus Passion UA, and Astralis versus Rare Atom. And of course I will be covering those, so if you want to stay updated, don't forget to drop a like and a subscribe. I would greatly appreciate it. And as always, thanks for watching. Take care.